Yeah, it's a great question. So now that these coaches, they have their list of prospects starting out, maybe freshman year, maybe eighth grade, they have this wide list of student athletes. They're over time narrowing this down to their top prospects. In some schools, some programs, some sports, this is going to take place freshman, sophomore year. Some sports like football and baseball, basketball, they're doing this very early and they're making their evaluations. And they're going to either, if they're in the contact period, they're going to set up a phone call. They're going to call you and they're going to have a conversation about you being a potential part of their program and coming in and having a roster spot, having a scholarship. In some cases, like baseball and football, Danny talked about it earlier, where the coaches will call the club or travel coach or high school coach to have the student athlete actually call the collegiate coach, and they can have a conversation if it's initiated by the student athlete. And that's not all sports. That's just some sports have those rules that are in place right now where they're able to do that. But it's going to typically come from having a conversation with that student athlete and determining the seriousness of that student athlete and whether or not they're a good fit for that program. That happens over time. So you're going to see some sports where verbal scholarship offers are being made freshman year, sophomore year, some cases eighth grade. Generally speaking, for most sports, it's going to be junior year where a lot of these scholarship offers are coming out. These are going to be coming after some like the unofficial and official visits that are occurring. So it's a long process really leading up to this verbal offer, this verbal scholarship. And we'll talk about signing in a second, but it really takes a lot of time, years, to get to that point.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's no one blanket statement about how a college coach is going to go about this. And there wasn't necessarily a blanket statement for when I was going about it as a college coach. So, at the Division I level, we are able to offer scholarships. I was probably offering, between 12 and 15 athletes, some amount of scholarship in any given graduating class. At times, I was offering that scholarship on their official visit right there in the office. Sometimes, after an official visit, you wanted to see how that official visit went. You kind of want to read that student athlete's experience, kind of gauge their interest in your program after that official visit, and maybe we're offering that on the phone. But like you said, it's not uncommon these days for college coaches to be communicating that through club coaches, travel coaches, AAU coaches, and making those offers. So you need to be prepared. You need to be out ahead of it. You need to understand that, it may not happen when you think it's going to happen. And in a lot of cases, it might happen earlier than when you think it's going to happen. So just to be, best prepared in that regard. And I think you had touched on it there that you could potentially be offered of scholarship long before you've ever set foot on that campus. That's not uncommon either. So you have to be prepared, kind of know generally when it's going to happen, probably sophomore year, junior year. That's when to really be on the lookout, but you'll get a sense for that if you've taken the proactive steps, you've done what you're supposed to do, start to build that relationship with the coach that you might be getting a scholarship offer.
Yeah, you'll know that that's going to happen if you're not having those serious conversations and phone calls with coaches pretty regularly. Sophomore, junior year going into senior year, it means probably that offer isn't necessarily on the table or coming to you any imminent time. So you want to make sure that you're having those conversations. Typically, scholarship offers don't just kind of appear out of nowhere. So be on top of that. Be on top of that early.